Okay, midweek 30. Adjective, adverb, and noun clauses can all be written to add more what to sentences? They can add more variety. Again, we love variety, right? Spice of life. If you want to put any other synonyms of variety, you absolutely can, but basically it's just variety, right? Noun clauses, which begin with the signal that, can be rewritten by putting the clause at the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence. At the end of the sentence. And by putting them at the end, it will make the sentence sound more formal or informal. It'll be more informal, right? Like that I gave you homework is obvious versus it is obvious that I gave you homework, right? Move it to the end. If an adverb clause interrupts a noun clause beginning with the signal that, is it correct or incorrect to repeat the word that after the adverb clause? It is incorrect. You only say the word that once. Alright, so today there's 3 effective sentence devices that add more variety to your sentences. Okay, so the first one is the no sooner ... than device. And the key thing here are the ... dots. Okay, that means there's going to be words in between there. So when we sat down to eat, comma, company arrived, versus no sooner had we sat down to eat than company arrived. Which sentence shows more effectively that one event follows the other event almost immediately? That would be B, right? We sat down and then boom, company was there. So no sooner had we sat down to eat than company arrived. So the words no sooner have to be followed later in the sentence by what word? By the than. Remember, like I said about the ... dots, there's words that come in between them. So you will never see no sooner than right next to each other. There's always going to be words in between. When I last saw Ben, he was looking for a job. When the picnic table was set, it began to rain. So of the 2 sentences, which would be best arranged into that no sooner ... than format? Because the 2 events happen almost at the same time. That would be B, right? We set the picnic table and then boom, oh no, started to rain. Goodbye picnic. So when the picnic table was set, it began to rain, versus no sooner was the picnic table set, then it began to rain. Which sentence comes across as more novel and forceful and in your face? That would have to be B, right? It's happening almost at the same time. So no sooner was the picnic table set than it began to rain, versus the picnic table was no sooner set than it began to rain. In which arrangement does the subject table come in between the 2 parts of the verb? That would be A, right? Because was set is the verb, table is my subject. So circle star, highlight this. This is important and everyone always forgets it every year. In a no sooner ... than sentence, we usually need to include a helping verb with the main verb. So any form of be, like was or is, any form of do, like do or does, did, and any form of have, like have, has, had, those types of words are helping verbs. So the 2 boys met, comma, and they began to argue, versus no sooner had the 2 boys met than they began to argue. So the verb met in A, when we changed it into the no sooner than format, we'll notice the verb became what instead? It became had met, right? So it needs that helping verb. When I sit down to study, comma, someone usually disturbs me. No sooner do I sit down to study than someone usually disturbs me. So in A, the verb was sit, but in B, it became what? It became do sit, right? So we put in the helping verb of do. So let's put these sentences into the no sooner than arrangement. Be sure to write than, T-H-A-N, not T-H-E-N, or not when, okay? So when I saw him, I recognized him. So we know the sentence is going to start off with the no sooner. So no sooner, and we know the verb is saw, so we need a helping verb first. We could go with have or had or did. Let's go with had in this case. No sooner had, then my subject, I, then my rest of my verb. But once I had saw, what would I say instead? Had seen him. So no sooner had I seen him than I recognized him. No sooner had I seen him than I recognized him. You'll notice the verb will change depending on what helping verb you use. If I said no sooner did I, then it wouldn't be seen. It would be no sooner did I see him. So it will change slightly just depending on what helping verb you choose. Let's try the next one. When the concert started, comma, the lights went out. Alright, so again, we start off with the no sooner. So no sooner, let's go with had again. Had my subject, the concert started, had started. Yep, that sounds good. So no sooner had the concert started, don't forget the than the lights went out. What you'll notice in both of these cases I used had, but I could have used a different form of a helping verb instead, okay? So there is some variation here, just as long as your verbs correctly match each other. We got to the corner and the engine stopped. So again, you start off with the no sooner. So no sooner, we might as well keep had, right? No sooner had we wouldn't say had got, but had gotten to the corner than the engine stopped. If you wanted to go with did though, like no sooner did we get to the corner than the engine stopped. So it just depends on your helping verb. Why don't you guys try the next one? When I reached the dentist's office, my tooth stopped aching. Well, you try it, and we'll see if we get the same answer. In the meantime, I'm just going to check my Snapchat. Okay, so we would start off with a no sooner, right? So no sooner, let's go with did this time. No sooner did I reach the dentist's office than my tooth stopped aching. You could have said no sooner had I reached the dentist's office than my tooth stopped aching. It just depends on your verb choice. Alright, I know the first one's fairly tricky. The second one kind of follows the same type of pattern. It's a not only ... but also device. And again, the ... dots indicate there's words in between it, so you will never see not only but also, like all squished together. Jim cooked the dinner and washed the dishes. Then we have not only did Jim cook the dinner, comma, but he also washed the dishes. So which sentence is more forceful in terms of emphasizing how Jim is awesome and did so much work? That would be B, right? Because it follows that not only but also format. So not only did Jim cook the dinner, but he also washed the dishes. Jim not only cooked the dinner, but he also washed the dishes. So which sentence has the subject Jim coming between the two parts of the verb? That would be A, right? Again, there's a helping verb did, and then the action verb cook. So just like with the last one, this format needs a helping verb, okay? So let's apply the words to complete the not only but also device. The food was expensive and poor. So we can say not only was the food expensive, but it was also poor, right? Not only was the food expensive, but it was also poor. You could finish off that sentence. Now the sentence can be arranged to the not only but also arrangement still another way. We can say the food was not only expensive, but also poor, right? There's one or two options you can go with. Okay. So the food was not only expensive, but also poor. The food was not only expensive, but poor. So again, both sentences are grammatically wonderful, but which sentence says us the word? That would be B, right? It took out the also bit. So put each sentence into that not only but also arrangement. Linda's a good student and a good athlete. So we start off with the not only, and then remember we need a helping verb. So say, not only is Linda a good student, but also a good athlete, right? Not only is Linda a good student, but also a good athlete. Same thing here, the article misspelled my name and gave it wrong age. So not only we need a helping verb, let's go with did. So not only did the article misspell my name, but also gave a wrong age, right? And of course, if you chosen a different helping verb, it would vary slightly, but we went with did. Nessa was a great friend and a distinguished scientist. So again, we start off with the not only. Not only helping verb was whom? Was Nessa a great friend, but also a distinguished scientist. So there are some of your answers. Again, there's some variation depending on what words you choose. The last one is also similar. It is the more, ... the more, or the more, ... the less. Okay, there's the slash because it's one or the other. The more cookies you eat, the more you want. Does this sentence have any connecting words between the two word groups? No, there's no like conjunction there, it's just the comma. So this sentence device is useful to show that as one thing increases or decreases, something else is going to increase or decrease at the same time. So the more cookies you eat, comma, the more you want. So in this case, as our eating of cookies increases, our wanting of cookies increases or decreases? It also increases. We're like Cookie Monster. We're like, give me all the cookies. Or like a 2-year-old. I guess they're kind of the same way. The more one whines, comma, the less positive one becomes. Okay, so this means that as one whines more, one's positiveness increases or decreases. It decreases, right? Because that's what less positive means. The more one whines, comma, the less positive one becomes. As one whines more, comma, one becomes less positive. So which sentence makes the relationship between the two facts a lot more striking? That would be A, right? Because it's the more, the less format device. So let's put these sentences into the more, less structure. So as he earns more, he spends more. Alright, so you'll notice we already have the more here, so we know which one we're going to go with. So the more he what? The more he spends, the more he earns, comma, the more he spends. The more he earns, the more he spends. So it provides the information already. But sometimes you won't have a more or the less right there. Sometimes you'll use a comparative form, which is the ER form, like taller, faster, smoother, any ER basically, of an adjective or an adverb to use in these arrangements. So when you drive faster, you see less. Now, you're not going to say the more faster you drive, right? Because the ER already takes care of the more part. So you would just say the faster you drive, comma, and then since you have less here, you would say the less you what? The less you see. So the faster you drive, the less you see. And this one, as you get older, you have more responsibilities. So I already see an ER here, so this is going to be what? The older you get, comma, the more responsibilities you have. Okay? So once you follow the pattern, once you understand the pattern, it's not too difficult. In fact, the most common mistake I see with this section is just forgetting helping verbs when we get to test time. So, if you have questions, let me know. Let's go to the worksheet.